This is a story about Jon Hazlett, but really, it's a story about fish and people.
I love fly fishing for steelhead.
He does. In fact, he's wasted approximately 2,487 days of his life trying to catch fish that he has no intention of keeping. But it's not a total waste. Jon works as a fishing guide, which is kind of like being employed.
I love the Rogue River.
This is also true. Jon, in fact, loves Oregon. He's lived here his whole life. He particularly loves the Rogue River because it still has lots of steelhead. Jon and his friends and clients fish one of the last healthy steelhead fisheries in the country. But Jon's about to meet someone who will change the way he sees his home river and the fish that return to it.
How's life, Jon?
Good, man. Another day on the water.
Have a scotch.
Jon doesn't actually like scotch, but he's a fishing guide, so he never declines free alcohol.
Thanks.
Well, how'd you do?
We did all right. How about you?
Oh, I ain't been fishing. Here's to the fish, though. Listen, Johnny, I need you to do something for me.
Do I know you?
He didn't, but he will.
Have you ever heard of the Penobscot River in Maine? Presidential salmon. Of course not. Well, you should. Used to be a damn good Atlantic salmon run. It's all I did when I was your age. Hell, most of my life, I fished for salmon. Fished all over the Northeast. Jon, I need you to go there.
Where? Maine?
Yeah. Go to VZ, Maine. Find Galen Heshe.
Galen?
Get you another one, Jon?
No, I'm good, man. Who was that guy?
What guy? You feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. But I think I gotta go to Maine.
I've been connected to Atlantic salmon fishing for 50 years. The very first salmon I caught weighed 10.5 pounds. Of course, you're talking about a young man that had his biggest fish was probably a 10.5-inch brook trout.
Very seldom have I hooked a salmon without getting pretty excited over it and so forth.
Well, the first time I probably ever heard of an Atlantic salmon or the business of fishing for them was through my Uncle Charlie.
You know, and I went a lot alone. A lot of guys got hooked the same way. You know, once they hooked a salmon, that was it.
I mean, Uncle Charlie's been dead for 40 years. He died probably when I was 20, 22.
What you're looking at here, these are all my original patterns.
I think it's safe to say it was probably the most important part of his life.
The whole community would be out there. When someone hooked a salmon, people in the early days, the school was located right next to the river. They would let the school kids come out and watch people play the salmon right out in front of the river. That's how important it was and how excited people were about it.
When I grew up enough so that I could grasp the idea or even have the opportunity to go salmon fishing, which I'm sure I would have if I'd had the opportunity, it was just about gone. The runs went away.
With the dams and the lack of fish passage, we really saw such a decline in the fisheries that people can't even conceive of what has been lost.
The day they stopped Atlantic salmon fishing here in the river, there were people in this clubhouse, and I heard them say it, "What's the sense? Why come here anymore? There's no purpose in living." Several of them actually went home and died. They had nothing to live for anymore. It was that important.
Nothing, there's nothing there to connect anyone to the river, to the salmon. But man, it's just because they can't fish for them.
With the closing of the salmon fishery, a lot of people really became very cynical, and a lot of despair set in. Really, this was people's lives.
All these people abandoned. They abandoned those clubs, they abandoned the river, and most of all, they abandoned the Atlantic salmon because they can't fish and kill it.
I think if Uncle Charlie saw or knew about the state of Atlantic salmon in Maine today, he would be sad. And I'm quite sure that knowing the love of salmon fishing that he had, if he knew there was some way he could help or do something about it, I think he would, definitely.
They abandoned the fish. They abandoned the river.
With despair comes a cynicism
We're losing
that
not
it can
only
never
on
be
salmon, but
rebuilt.
we're losing on everything.
They abandoned the fish. They abandoned the river.
Whoa. They abandoned the fish and they abandoned the river? No. Not here. Not this river.
We need to learn from our mistakes. What happened on the East Coast rivers shouldn't happen again anywhere.
Whatever is going on in your river, back every effort to maintain your fishery and just hold on.
If you give up, you'll lose your heritage. If you lose your passion, you're going to lose your sport. Don't do that.
There's a lot of great things happening on the East Coast, some dam removals just like on the West Coast. This is all one big movement.